Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we just got the final reveals for Alliance Insight. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come for our notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's go and check these cards out. So first off, we do have the brand new world premieres coming out in Alliance Insight, and we also have some OCG imports we're going to check out as well later on. But I'm really excited to see these cards because the artworks look absolutely phenomenal. So let's go ahead and see what these cards actually do. So first off, we have a new light fairy monster. This card is called Dawn Angel Camby, and this card is actually a really interesting looking card. This card is a level 1 light fairy effect monster with 500 attack and 1800 defense points. And if you control no monsters or all monsters you control are fairy monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can also tribute any number of fairy monsters, including this card, to special summon a fairy monster from your deck whose level equals the total levels of those monsters had on the field, and you cannot special summon the turn you activate this effect except for fairy monsters. And you can only use each effect this card once per turn. Now, a couple of decks that come to mind right off the bat for this card is Dark Lord and Agent, which would be very interesting to actually see this card played in. But just being able to use this card as an extender, as a free extender that you can just special summon out to your side of the field, is actually really nice for a lot of different decks to be able to just have a light fairy extender. And it's a really good card overall. I really like what they're doing with this card, just to give you the ability to almost Lone Fire Blossom a monster to your side of the field, but you also have to tribute other monsters whose total level equal that monster, which is kind of interesting. But overall, it's a really good card, and when you combine it with cards like the Agent of Creation Venus, you can actually summon out basically anything that you want, which is actually really interesting. But overall, this card is very, very good, and I'm really excited to see what decks it finds a home in. So the next one we do have Rimnir the Divine Follower. And this card is a level 9 light fairy effect monster with 2200 attack and 2200 defense points. And you can tribute 3 fairy monsters from your hand and or field, and then set a continuous spell from the deck. But send it to the graveyard during the opponent's end phase. And if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. And you can only use each effect this card once per turn. This card is very interesting, and anytime I see a level 9 monster, I automatically think of Generator. And it's very interesting to actually see what this card does, because we do have a continuous spell that might work with it called Van Golf's Blessing, that might actually work with this card, but that's really interesting. This card just gets to any continuous spell card in the entire game, but it does require you to treat 3 fairy monsters from your hand or field to be able to set a continuous spell from the deck. It's a really powerful ability to be able to get to any continuous spell, but I'm not sure with that amount of cost what you're actually going to play this in. But again, the Agent of Creation Venus gives you 3 Shine Balls on your side of the field. So you can basically summon out your copy of your Shine Ball, and then if you have the ability to get this card out, you can use its ability to be able to just basically get to any card that you need. It does cost a lot to be able to get it out on your side of the field and then pay the cost of tributing 3 fairies. So I'm not sure how good this card is actually going to be, but it's a very interesting card overall that could see some very cool play. We do also have a new continuous spell called Van Golf's Blessing. And this card has the ability, when this card is activated, you can actually send a light fairy monster from your deck to the graveyard. And fairy monsters you control gain 100 attack for each fairy monster on the field and in the graveyard. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can actually target a level 4 lower fairy monster in the grave and special summon it. And you can only use each effect of this card per turn once per turn, and only once that turn. And you can only activate one of this card per turn as well, which is pretty interesting overall. This card is a good card, but it does require you to basically just boost your fairy monsters up, but it is basically a foolish burial for your light fairy monsters, which is a pretty cool effect, so you can actually bring them back to your side of the field through different means. But it's a really interesting thing that we're getting some light fairy support. Overall, this card's very interesting, and I do like that ability that if it is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can actually target a level 4 fairy monster in the grave and special summon it. So it kind of works with your previous card, which is actually really neat, because if you basically just send the continuous spell to the graveyard during your opponent's end phase. So it is a pretty cool card overall. Again, not sure how much play we're actually going to see out of these cards, but they're very, very interesting. We then have Aspen School. Aspen School looks awesome. I love the artwork of this card. They're just so happy looking. I love this artwork. So let's hope this card actually is really good, because I really want to see this card actually see play. So this card is a level 4 water fish effect monster with 300 attack and 300 defense. Kind of weak on the stats. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon a level 6 or lower fish monster from your hand in defense position, but banish it when it leaves the field. And if this card is banished, you can actually special summon this card in defense, and you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. I'm not sure again how much play this is going to see with cards like Buzzsaw Shark already in the game, letting you special summon a shark directly from your deck by just targeting itself. But overall, it's a very interesting card, and it's a very adorable. I love the artwork of this card. This card is just adorable, but I'm not sure how much play this is actually going to see and what decks. You could play it in shark, you could play it in some weird level 4 fish decks. It doesn't really lock you into anything, which is really nice. It just special summons level 6 or lower fish monsters from your hand in defense, which is a pretty cool effect, just to be able to special summon a fish from your hand. But overall, it's a pretty good card, and it reminds me a lot of 10 Goldfish. We then have Toxic Box Fish. That's really interesting. I'm surprised it's not a machine monster, but this card is a super rare in this next set, and it is a level 4 water fish synchro effect monster. Might support Goaty. Might actually support Goaty. Let's see what it does. This card is 1800 attack and 800 defense points. It is generic. It is completely generic. It just requires a tuner and a non-tuner to make it. And it has the ability, if this card is synchro summoned, you can target a card in either player's graveyard and banish it. That's a pretty good effect, and actually helps Goaty a lot to help you just banish your different monsters out of the graveyard, and I really like that effect. And if this card is banished, you can actually target a face-up card your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn, and you can only use each effect card once per turn. That is actually a really good effect to be able to use, because it is not a tuner, and it's actually a really good card for Goaty, and I do see this card seeing play in Goaty decks to be able to have you a level 4 synchro monster that you can step into extremely easily with cards like White Sardine, and then be able to use one of your level 2 tuner monsters to be able to actually step into this, and then basically use its ability to target one of your other fishes in the graveyard and banish it, or one of your Goaty monsters in the graveyard and banish it to continue your plays, which is actually really nice. Overall, this card is going to see play in Goaty, and I really think it's a great card for Goaty. It's probably a 1-of though, nothing really crazy. We then have Fish and Bids. Fish and Bids. It's actually got, oh, that's actually 7-color fish on it. That's really interesting. Okay, so this card is called Fish and Bids, and it's a normal spell card. And at the start of your main phase 1, banish 1 card from your hand, and your opponent can banish 2 cards from their hand. And if they do not, you get to apply this effect. You take 2 fish monsters from your deck and either banish both or send both to the graveyard. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest turn except for fish. This card is direct Goaty support. This card is absolutely Goaty support. You're banishing a card from your hand, and then you're using it to banish 2 fish from your deck, just completely setting you up for Goaty. This card is the Pendulum Call of Goaty. This card is amazing. This card is going to see so much play, and it's probably a 3-of in Goaty to just instantly be able to banish fish from your hand and from your deck. Your opponent's never going to be able to use that ability to banish 2 cards from their hand. They're never going to want to do that, and so this card is definitely going to see play in Goaty, and they're actually just directly supporting Goaty, which is amazing to actually see them giving more Goaty support, because Goaty's actually a really fun deck, and this card just immediately supports that archetype. We then have a new Cyverse monster, which is really neat, and this card is called Replicard LAD. And this card is a level 7 Dark Cyverse effect monster with 2500 attack and 2500 defense. It makes me think that this card is actually going to support Regenesis, which is really neat. But you can banish one of their level 7 or higher monster from your hand, special summon this card from your hand, and you can target a face-up monster that you control, special summon 1 monster from your deck with a different name that has 2 or more of the same level, attack, and or defense, but it cannot activate its effects this turn, and you can only use the effects card once per turn. This card is going to be a 3-of in Regenesis. It's insane. It just gives you the ability to banish one of your level 7 monsters, summon out a monster 2500 attack and 2500 defense, which is insane. And also, E-tellies out one of your other monsters to your side of the field. This card is immediately going in Regenesis, and it's really nice because I was actually mentioning earlier to a couple other players that there was not a Dark Regenesis monster, and this might be the Dark Regenesis monster that we have for now, until they print us an actual Dark Regenesis monster, because it does have that 2500 stat, which is actually really cool, and it's nice to actually see them supporting it. But this card is amazing for the deck. It's going to help you go in for rank 7 plays, and also it's just really good because it does have that 25 stat, which helps out a lot for Regenesis. We then have a new XZ monster, and this card is called Sakura Vinderedge, and this card is actually, I think, going to support Heraldic Beast, because it's actually a Psychic rank 4, which actually looks amazing. But this card actually is a rank 4 Dark Psychic effect monster that has 2,000 attack and 2,500 defense points, and it's just a generic rank 4 monster. But hopefully, since we are getting Heraldic Beast support in this set, this card is actually going to help it out. With this card's ability, you can detach and return this card, and then target one level or rank 4 Psychic monster in your graveyard, except copy this card, and special summon it. That's pretty good to help you bring back one of your Heraldic Beasts to your side of the field. And if a monster is special summoned, while this card's in the main monster zone, you can actually target one other face-up monster on the field, and that monster's name becomes Sakura Vinderedge until the end of the turn, and you can only use each effect this card once turn. This card is directly supporting Heraldic Beast because you're going to have two monsters on the field with the exact same name. So yes, this is actually Heraldic Beast support, and you're going to definitely play this in Heraldic Beast because Heraldic Beasts need a lot more for the archetype, and this card actually helps out a lot, because they do need rank 4s, and they do need cards that are actually psychic and can turn monsters into different names, which is really nice. And overall, this card is Heraldic Beast support, and just being able to bring back one of your psychic rank 4s is going to be really nice to help you step into cards like F-Zero and stuff like that, which is going to be really, really good because it doesn't really lock you in anything. But this card is actually really interesting overall. You're going to see play in the future, and I love the artwork of it. It looks so cool. We also have a new Tiki monster, and this card is really cool looking. This card is called Tiki Peace, and this card is a continuous trap. And you can special summon this card as an effect monster that's a Rock Earth level 4, 1800 attack, 1800 defense, with the following effects. And this card is still treated as a trap card. Quick effect, you can pay 800 life points, especially in a continuous trap, except a Tiki Piece from your graveyard, or banishment as a normal monster that's a Rock Earth level 4, 1000 attack and 1000 defense, and its name becomes Tiki Piece even while face down. And this is not treated as a trap card, and you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. It's a really interesting effect overall to actually help you bring out more trap monsters to your side of the field. It does require 800 basically life points to be able to special summon an additional monster to your side of the field, basically being a monster born every single turn. It's not as good as Anguish Pattern, where Anguish Pattern can just pop cards every single turn, but it is going to see its place in different decks, and I really think this card could actually be a really interesting side deck card for like Odeon. But this card is supposed to directly support the Odeon archetype because of all the new trap monster support that we've gotten for Odeon, and overall it's a pretty cool card. But I'm not sure if it's going to see play inside the Odeon deck, because Odeon deck already has really everything that it needs for trap monsters, and so this card is really good, but again, I'm not sure where it's going to see play, but it's a really, really cool card. We also do have the Misarugi cards that are being released in this that are world premiere cards as well, but these are kind of like the free agent world premiere cards. But overall, this card is going to be in Odeon, and it's direct support for Odeon. I'm not sure if it's going to see play. This card is going to see play, and it's going to be for Heraldic Beast. We have the new replica card LAD. This card is directly supporting Regenesis, which is nice. We also have Fish and Bid. Fish and Bid is basically a Pendulum Call for Goaty. Gonna see play probably as a 3 of. This card's a 1 of in Goaty with Toxic Box Fish. This card's really cool. Not sure this is going to see play at anything. Aspen School, Vangolf's Blessing, and Rimnir. I don't think these are going to see very much play at all. And then this is just a generic, basically, extender for fairies, which is really, really cool. And I really like this card in the deck, in a bunch of different decks, like Dark Lord, and even, I might even see this card played in Agents, which is really cool. So we do also have some other cards to talk about. We do have the brand new imports from the OCG for Alliance Insight, and there's only a few of them, so we're going to go very quickly over these cards. We do have something very interesting, and this card is called Dippity, and it's actually a fiend, and it's a light fiend level 4, which is pretty interesting because it makes it easier to go in for Chaos Angel using Fiendsmith. So this card might actually, or it's going to completely replace White Dustin as a tech card for Fiendsmith. And this is actually your new Fiendsmith level 4 extender with cards like Unexpected Die, Primite Roar, and even using the Primite engine alongside Fiendsmith, which might have been one of the reasons that they did not actually hit Fiendsmith. We then do have a new Corn monster, and this card is really interesting. Don't think it's going to see very much play. And this card is really, really interesting. I really think it's cool that we're actually getting some weird cards like this. I think this was from originally the, I think it was originally from like the Zexal manga, which is weird. Like, and we have some really weird, like, I never would have thought this would have been an archetype, but here we are. So this is actually a new card we're getting in Alliance Insight. It's a common, and it might be interesting, but here it is. We then also have a new card. I believe this was played by Rio, the same person that played 103 Ragna Affinity and Ragna Zero. This card is pretty cool because it's a wing beast that's a water. And again, I'm not sure how much play this is going to see. We've already covered this on the channel one time, which is kind of not, I'm just kind of glancing over the cards to show you guys, but this card's pretty interesting. And we also have a card that I do think you might see play in Blue Eyes. Now, this card is a very interesting card. It's called Kunzite, and this card is actually really cool because if this card's in your hand, you can actually send a level 7 or higher null monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard. If you do, you get to special summon this card from your hand, which is a pretty cool ability to send like a Blue Eyes to the graveyard to get a level 8 extender on your side of the field, so you can bring Blue Eyes back to your side of the field later. And also banish card in the graveyard and then target a null monster to the graveyard and special summon it in defense position. And you can only use one effect this card per turn and only once that turn. But this card might even see play in Blue Eyes. You might play this as like a 2-of in certain Blue Eyes decks that are going for more rank 8 plays, or even using it for link summoning, which might be really interesting. But overall, these cards are pretty interesting. This card's probably the best of all the new imports. This card's okay. This card's weird. This card's really cool for Fiendsmith to actually see. But overall, that is going to do it. So that is the final reveals for Alliance Insight. Definitely tell me what you guys think of this new set. I think it's really cool overall, just for the Regenesis cards and the new imports. It's a really cool set overall. Heraldic Beast is going to be in the set. We're going to have Regenesis as a new archetype. We now have all sorts of different support for all sorts of different decks, and we have Adagnister cards. We have all sorts of cool cards coming out in the set. So that's going to be this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and definitely comment down below what cards you're after out of Alliance Insight. And we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.